day, someone DM'd me asking me about one of my favorite cameras, the Sony Zv1. And now y'all already know how I gets down. Y'all know I had to pull up and just let this person know that you don't be rolling up on a thug like that in the DMs, pimp. And now since I already know that y'all are a bunch of ninjas and gonna find out anyway, we have to go ahead and drip check the Sony Zv1. I mean, how y'all gonna drip check me and I invented drip check? So today I'm going ahead and I'm spilling the tea on my vlog settings that I use for the Sony Zv1, as well as just some of the tips and settings that help me along the way. Which means that yes, indeed, today is Drip Check Wednesday. Whoa, tell me those graphics ain't gangster. I mean, y'all feel that? Y'all feel that? I know y'all feeling that heat because I'm bringing the smoke. Now, before we get into the video, we gotta give a huge shout out to today's coffee sponsors, Big Pimp and Paul Kane and Ninja Boss Linda G. Thank you so much for the coffees. And Pimp, if you wanna buy me a coffee, don't be shy. The link is down below. Oh, look at that Porsche. That is, jeez, that is a nice Porsche. And it's electric. Oh, snap. And now, since you guys calling me out, drip checking me like that, let's talk about the Sony Zv1. Because I'm gonna be honest, the Sony Zv1 actually surprised me. And like surprised me in a good way. Like I literally had no idea how good this camera was. I mean, it's small, light, has a flip out screen. The zoom is phenomenal. Audio is definitely passable. Very convenient to have. And the icing on the cake, the image quality is good. So yes, overall, I was genuinely shocked by how good this camera was. Now, is it perfect? No. Does it have some flaws? Yes. And don't worry, Pimp, because we will talk about them too. Okay, quick side note, it is really hot today. Like, what is going on? I am ready for the winter, like for real. Bring on the coat, bring the snow. Where's the snow at, Pimp? Like for real, what? Why it's so hot up in here? Where the clouds at? Where the rain at? Like, that's what I moved here for. If I wanted this much sun, I would've just stayed in LA. Man, that is so crazy, because as soon as I complained about the weather, the clouds just hovered over. Man, if I didn't have kids, I would rock one of these. If I didn't have kids. Okay, so while we wait for my cappuccino, again, huge shout out to everybody who bought me a coffee. The link is down below. Okay, seriously though, while we wait for the cappuccino, let's get into some of the settings that I have for the Sony Zv1. Actually, let's start off with some of the accessories that I use for the Sony Zv1 that really helps the camera bring the sauce. The first one being a battery charger. Since the batteries on the Sony Zv1 die so quick, I can highly recommend this battery charger. Because not only does it double as a power bank, but you just pop your batteries in, close it up, throw it in the bag, and pimpin' you a Gucci. The second accessory that I do recommend for the Sony Zv1 is the Yulonzi wide angle lens. Now apparently there are better ones, but I hear about Yulonzi wide angle lens a lot. Plus, I rock with Yulonzi. All their products are great, never really let me down. And the same with the Yulonzi wide angle lens. It is boss. And now the last accessory that I do rock with the Sony Zv1 is a gimbal. Now I usually use the Crane M2S mostly for the Sony Zv1, but I also rock the Crane M3 with the Sony Zv1 as well, which is the gimbal that is holding the Sony a7S III up right now. It's light, easy to use, never gives me any problems, and does the job not only with the Sony a7S III, but also with the Sony Zv1. Oh snap, here come my coffee. Oh, thanks so much, man. All right, now pimpin', let's dive into the settings, because this is where I bring the sauce. And definitely just the best way that I've found to get the best out of the Sony Zv1 when it comes to image quality. And now first things first, when it comes to shooting mode, I tend to shoot in shutter priority. That way I can just control the shutter. Everything else, fair game. And now personally, this works best for me because you know I'll be out hugging the block, vlogging, doing what thugs do. So shutter priority works for me. Next, when it comes to resolution, I usually shoot in 4K 30. And now I do shoot in 1080 120, but that's only for getting nice product shots for B-roll or just B-roll that I want to slow down. And now while shooting in 4K 30, I also usually max it out at 100 megabits per second. And now something that I didn't know, but I literally just found out like yesterday, is that when you shoot in 4K, there is a slight crop versus when you're shooting in 1080p. But pimpin', I gotta say that 4K is definitely worth it because 1080p seems a bit too, like there's a lot of lost details in 1080p. And if you don't believe me, just look at this image right here. This is 1080 and this is 4K. So I highly recommend shooting in 4K whenever you can. But not gonna lie, that 1080 120 is boss. And now when it comes to stabilization, I usually have stabilization turned off or on standard because I'm rocking a gimbal. And since I mostly record rocking the gimbal, there's really no reason to have active stabilization turned on because the crop is so noticeable. And for vlogging, you kind of want it as wide as possible. So if you're rocking a gimbal, definitely turn it to standard or just turn it off completely. But if not, turn on active because it does make a difference. And now, not for nothing, I do leave it in active stabilization when I'm hand holding it or I'm just shooting random B-roll. And again, it works great, but that crop though. And now one of the best things about the Sony Zv1 has to be the built-in ND filter. It works extremely well, and I usually have it turned on when I'm out and about. And now since I am turning on and off ND, and I use it a lot, I went ahead and mapped the trash can button so that when I press it, it'll give you the option to turn on and off the ND. That way I don't have to search in menus. False. And now another button that I custom mapped was the shutter button, where I have it where it's the record button. And I don't know why I do this, but I do it with all my cameras. I always map the shutter button to the record button because that's just how I get down. That's what I'm used to. So yes, I am rocking 2 record buttons. And now something that I did notice with the Sony Zv1 is that it does tend to overexpose, even when the exposure comp is on 0. The exposure comp would be on 0, everything will be set up right, the ND's on, but for some reason it tends to overexpose. And it does not overexpose your skin so much, but mostly like just highlights in the picture and the sky. So to combat this, I highly recommend setting your EV comp to -0.3. Oh man, every time I find my flow, there's something happening. Like it's just a busy day for the streets today. But yes, I highly recommend turning that EV comp to -0.3 or -0.7 or even -1. Because something else I noticed while making videos is that it is definitely harder to fix like blown out shots than it is to fix underexposed shots. Like it's a pain to fix blown out shots. So I'd rather have it underexposed than overexposed. And setting up the EV comp to combat this overexposure issue really helps you bring the sauce when it comes to making videos. And now when it comes to picture profiles, I don't really use any. I have that completely turned off. And when it comes to creative style, I do have it set to standard, but I noticed that the Sony Zv1 is a little over sharpened, so I set the sharpness to -2. And then just to give that little extra boost, I set the saturation to -1. And then when it comes to contrast, I just left it alone. And then I think the last big thing that I've changed on the camera is that I set the auto power temp to high, which will basically allow me to shoot as long as I want until this thing catch on fire. And that is pretty much it. The Sony Zv1 is pretty solid. Like even if you just want a really good quality image straight out of camera, you cannot go wrong with the settings as is. For me personally, I just want to make things a little bit easier just because it's so convenient to have in your bag or even in your pocket. So I just want to adjust a couple of things just to make it just a little bit easier to use and convenient for me. And now when it comes to the cons, I will have to say that one of the major cons is its field of view. Because not for nothing, the Sony Zv1 is a bit tight on the face, especially to be a vlog camera, which is one of the biggest reasons why I chose like not to get it right in the beginning. Like all the footage I looked at was amazing, but it was just too tight on the face. Hence why I bought the Yulonzi wide angle lens. And even with the wide angle lens, it's still a little tight. But that's just me being greedy. Like, I'm just spoiled. The Sony a7S III just spoils it. Like, it just spoils me, okay? Now, the next biggest flaw has to be the battery life. Like, the battery life is just ridiculously low. Like, you definitely need extra batteries if you're using the Sony Zv1. But that's why I'm rocking this battery charger, because these batteries be dying like crazy. Like, it's an amazing camera and all, but like, if you can't use it then. So I highly recommend getting extra batteries and something, maybe like something that you screw in that has a battery bank in it. That way you can also film on the go if the battery's running low. Dang, I'm over here spitting bars. Y'all hear that? Like, bars. But Pimpin', those are the best settings that I found for the Sony Zv1 for vlogging. And if I missed anything, just let me know in the comments down below. And now, quick side note, I'm gonna have to say that I think the second drip check is solid. I think it's good. Second episode of Drip Check, boss. All right, so super quick side note, I was trying to get a shot back there and totally ran into my wife and my son. And man, my son is a straight boss. Because he was just legit like, Daddy, you don't film over there. You need to film over there. I'm just sitting back like, hold up, pimpin', hold up, mini gangster. Oh man, kids, man. well, pimpin', that is it. Hope you guys enjoyed this week's episode of Drip Check, dropping all the best settings for the Sony Zv1. And if you did enjoy it, like, comment, and subscribe. And also let me know your personal thoughts on the Sony Zv1. Do you have one? Do you like it? Do you think it sucks? Just like them comments up, letting me know. And also, again, a huge shout out to everybody who bought me a coffee. And if you want to buy me a coffee, pimpin', don't be shy. The link is down below. But that is it. Drip Check episode number 2 out and done. I'm liking this Drip Check. Like, I'm liking it.